Welcome to segment 2 of Citizens Forum. Our guest in this segment is William Goldiet. I saw a poster recently for an event, and in the poster it said the word Ubuntu, and underneath was, I guess, a translation. And the translation was, I am what I am because of what we all are. And I thought that was so great. So William's name was on the poster, and I got in touch with him because of that. And William, you're originally from what is now South Sudan, and we're going to talk about Ubuntu. I am what I am because of what we all are. So I think you'd like to start off by talking about how do most people in Africa value interdependent relationships. And
well, thank you for inviting me to come to talk. Yeah, that is, Ubuntu is very powerful word, I can say. It describes the people, the way people live their life in Africa, because, you know, in the community I come from, we believe that no person can live his life or her life without being or getting support from others. So that is what it meant here. I am who I am because of who we all are. So that means I cannot be successful without you being there for me or me being there for you. So yeah, so in Africa, let's say interdependence relationship. You know, if you start travel from the village, for example, you don't need to worry about what you will eat ahead of you, or what you will drink, or where you will sleep. So you just go, and then the food you will find in the village, where you will feel that I have to hang on here, and then I will continue my journey the next day when it is a daytime. So the people there, they will entertain you, they will give you a place to sleep, they will give you food, they will give you a drink, you know. So that is part of being cared of by other person, you know. So yeah.
so I guess you're saying that when you were growing up, that's kind of the way it was. If you had to travel, the road was kind of taken care of. Was it family in the next village, or just people you met, or that's just the way it was?
It's not a family, and it's not the people you know at all. It's just the people. You know, let me give you a very true example in which I was one of the people who were travelers. So I was very young that time with my 3 sisters. So we came from like Vancouver, coming to Victoria, for example. So it became a night, a evening, and we were worried that if we continue, you know, there is some wild animal on the way. So we feel that we should just enter into the village in front of us. And we don't know anybody there. So we just got into the village. And then they go, oh, it's strangers, welcome, you know. So we were welcome, we get in. So my sisters, they were taken to, because there is a females and a males. They stay separately from each other. So I was taken to a place where the men gather, and my 3 sisters were taken to the place where the women gather. So they got the food there, and I got the food here. And we slept over. Early in the morning, 6 o'clock, we start over again to go to our village. So we don't carry anything with us. We just get a place to sleep on the way and food on the way, and you know. But it's unlike our world today. You know, you have to book the hotel, or you have to, you know, to prepare whatever you have. Yeah.
I liked the meaning of that word, Ubuntu. I am what I am because of what we all are. It caught me because it seems to be the opposite of what we're doing in Canada now. I think when I was growing up in Canada, it was more like that. There was a feeling that we were all part of something together, that we were Canadians, and that our society would help to take care of us. And it didn't matter so much what kind of a job you had, if it was what's called a higher job or a lower job. People made kind of a living wage, and the society was good enough that even if you were making a low wage, your kids would still be going to a good school, you'd still have good medical care, and you could participate in the society. Whereas now we've gone more in the direction of the people at the top take as much as they can possibly get, the people at the bottom are homeless on the streets, and that idea of we're part of a society and the society makes us all strong and makes us better, that idea has been kind of crushed. And I like the word Ubuntu. I like that idea more, and I think it's true. I think it's true.
Yeah, thank you.
So how does, you wanted to mention, how does a daily gathering benefit community members?
Yeah, it's very important, you know. Before I get out from my country, I can say there was no day which passed without seeing other member of the community, you know. So in the morning, everybody can go to work, but after the work, people come and gather together under the trees or in a eating location. So it benefits people because sometimes we have people who might have no food, as I just mentioned. So they can get their food because people eat together. Nobody can eat indoor at all. People eat. I have to deliver. My food have to be delivered from home to where we gather. So your food have to be delivered to where we gather.
How big was the village where you grew up?
Oh, it's I think I can guess 40 people, 40 men gathered together. I mean the grown man, you know,
Yeah.
not the youngs or teens, but the grown man. It could go to 40. That is the small village, but you have a bigger village, you know, they gather together. So only they will separate from each other when it is a night time, and then you go to sleep. So it is important that when they eat together, there are people who might have no food. They will benefit from eating, from people who have. Another thing is, you know, because there is a lot of challenges, sometimes people have their own problem. So when through these collectivities, you know, one time I observed that a man has a problem at home. So he came, and the people look at him, and he was not normal. So people have to say, hey, come, what happened with you today? What is the matter with you? And then you have to say it, I have this and I have this problem. And then they will challenge the problem, not him, but they will say, oh, come on, you know. So, you know, in that word, and the person can come back to himself again, you know, checking out the problem that actually get into him, because people are trying to counsel him within the community, you know. Oh, that is okay. Oh, you know, what you have to do, you can do it this way, you know. So the person can be relieved, you know, from the problem that could accumulate or something like that, you know. So that is the benefit of being together, you know. So they solve their problem instantly, you know.
Here in Victoria, one thing I would love to see is something kind of like that. If, for example, our neighborhood schools were open in the evening, because every neighborhood has a school in it, and if the schools were open for maybe even for meals, but certainly for sports like badminton or floor hockey or chess, you know, in one of the classrooms where the community could gather and spend time together. Just, you know, they may not be your best friends, but you go down and you play chess with somebody and you see that person every couple of weeks and you play chess with them. I think something like that would be wonderful. And we've been moving in the opposite direction. Now all the schools are closed. They're never open in the evening because they say there's no money. But I think in terms of a gathering, it would be beneficial to so many of us to have that kind of neighborhood place where we could go and know that it was just going to be a nice way to spend an evening, so you don't have to go to the mall or spend time alone on your computer.
I agree with that, Jack. You know, me as an immigrant who just moved to Canada 5 years ago, Canada is very good country, peaceable country. You have many services, you know, but sometimes we feel there is some other challenges, you know, like for example, I have my wife. We have a new baby. That is number 5 we have at home now. So if I were in my community where we come from, you know, in Africa they said to raise a village, it takes a village to raise a child, you know. It means many things, that I am the father, but you know, people will help me in raising that child because I'm being surrounded by many people,
Yeah.
extended family or something like that, you know. And moms sometimes can come to feed the baby, but the baby is being taken care of many people around them. But here, we don't have extended family here, but we have to do it by ourselves. You know, one time I found my wife, I was away and she was doing some work while carrying the baby with her, you know. If in my community where I come, she cannot touch anything at all, you know, because she got many support from the people. Yeah. And other thing here, neighborhood also, is very hard to exchange communication with your neighbor, you know, which is really, I feel, is very important to know who is next to you, you know, to you know, but is something really, if people come together, you know, I know my neighborhood, his name, I know him, and he know my name, you know, he can be witness to what might happen to me, if he can dial 911, you know, but it's important to have a sense of community.
I would like to see here in Canada us put more effort into building that idea of community, and to do it, I mean, people have to. Well, really, I think something like having the schools open, I think people would go to the schools in the evening as a place to play badminton with your friends or play with the kids. The kids could be there doing something else. It could be a source of community, something like that. You know, I think it's something I think a lot of people miss, and I think we could do it better, and I'd like to see us make that effort. You also wanted to mention, or what is the source of social welfare to most Africans?
Yeah, I might be wrong because, you know, African is going forward, and I have been away for a long time, but if I have to talk about the past, because I don't know what kind of change it is now. I went home 2010, but there is a negative change. You know, it's unlike Canada here. You know, you can have a food bank here, you can have a social welfare here, where you can go if you are not working or something like that. But what I have observed when I went to my country, 2010, is the change from village to the town. There is no adjustment, or there is not a plan. If we have to abandon the life in the village and then switch to the town, the people in town, how would they live their life? I don't think there is any consideration, which is really, really not good for most of the people who live in the town. So, yeah, the source of the social welfare is from people themselves. If I am not working, as I mentioned before, if I am not working, my uncle is the source of my support or my income. He support me maybe financially or with the food or whatever. So I get it from the relatives. I got support from the relatives, I don't know the government, I don't go to the government, but my relatives are there, they supply me with whatever I need. It's like when I mentioned that people eat together. Let me just mention one thing. I was small again because there is a lot of things I have learned. A guest is our in-law actually who visit. So we were small, and then people were sitting around 40 people eating together. So the guest was counting because he know people by name. He know Jack House, he know William House, he know. So Jack House delivered the food, and William delivered the food. So when people have food and they eat, and now it was night, everybody have to go to sleep. And one man did not, the house of one man did not bring in the food. So the guest who didn't know, he asked it, is this person a guest like me also, so that he could not have food from his home, So it was very, very, very important moment to me, that a guest who come can eat from people, and So
I'm afraid we're out of time. Thank you so much for being on the show. Think of the word Ubuntu, which means I am what I am because of what we all are. I think it's a very, very important word. Thank you for watching this segment of Citizens Forum, and thank you, William Goldiet.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be your guest.
Welcome back, everybody, and this is part 3 of Citizens Forum. And today we have Janis Hoffmann back with us again, talking about her struggles with the School District 62 and her efforts to protect her grandson from the harmful effects of Wi-Fi type radiation. So Janis' family, as well as another family in School District 62, have now joined together and have filed an appeal with the Ministry of Education, asking that the ministry would take steps to accommodate their children who have been diagnosed as electro-hypersensitive. So welcome to the show, Janis.
Hi.
It's always a pleasure to have you here. And I think we should start out with just letting the viewers know what happened to you and your family and children and your grandchildren that led you to the knowledge that they were being harmed by Wi-Fi, and then what led you to filing the appeal.
Well, it was in April of 2012. My grandson, who was 8 years old, attended Sangster Elementary School in the Souk School District. And there was times that he was coming home with really bad headaches, and he was complaining of fatigue. He was complaining of not being able to sleep at night. And when he came home after school, I'd ask him where his headaches were and to put his finger on where it hurts, and he would point to the top of his head. And then towards the end of April, he was coming home and laying on the couch crying that it hurt so much that he was going to be sick. And I said, well, put your finger where it hurts. And he says, Granny, I can't put my finger on it. It's in the middle of my head. So of course, we were automatically thinking, this child's probably got a brain tumor. There's something wrong with him. So we were discussing it with some other parents on the school ground, and they said, well, do you know that the Wi-Fi was installed around April? And of course, it just clicked on me because I'd heard about it before, and we went up to the principal and we asked if that was true, and she said yes. So we asked if they could turn it off, and they said, well, you would have to check with the school board. So I checked with Graham Arts at the Souk School Board, and he told me that it was school policy that the Wi-Fi be left on. And I said, well, how is Tyler going to finish school? I can't have him exposed to this. He's getting very sick. So we then contacted Ron Warner, who was the assistant superintendent, and he told us that they didn't have a Wi-Fi policy, but they didn't want to turn it off because it would set a precedent. It had to stay on.
So in this case, they installed these Wi-Fi routers throughout the district and in your school. Was there a demand within the school to have the wireless technology at that time?
The parents were unaware that any of this was put in. Apparently what happened, from what I understand, is that each district was given a lump sum of money from the Ministry of Education to do what they wanted with, but the ministry had a tendency for them to go with the technology plan, the multi-million-dollar technology plan that is installing Wi-Fi and using wireless devices in the schools.
The point I think we were trying to make here is that even though inside of the school there was no computers or anything that was needed the Wi-Fi, even though there was nothing inside the school that needed the wireless technology, they still insisted on installing the router and turning it on.
Right. They said that when I talked to the principal said they were hoping to get iPads or laptops or something next year. Well, when I checked with the parents this year a couple of weeks ago, they still have the Wi-Fi on. It's been on for over a year. They've been radiating the children for over a year, and they still do not have laptops or iPads or anything in the school.
So the appeal that you're making with the Ministry of Education is around the issue of this unwanted exposure to your grandson to this type of radiation. And so what are you asking the ministry to do?
I'm asking them to turn it off. There are other options. We've told them of the other options. There's carts that you can get to put your generic type tablets or notebooks in. They can be charged and they can be downloaded. And before you give them to the child, there's no need to have the children exposed to the Wi-Fi.
Right.
You can do this and you know.
Are you making any recommendations to the district, say in regards to perhaps having a school that's free of Wi-Fi or anything of that nature?
Well, last year the BCC PAC recommended that there be a school at each level in each district Wi-Fi free, because there's a lot of children out there that parents that are ill, that parents don't understand what's wrong with their children, just like I didn't figure it out until I did some research on the exposure of Wi-Fi. And these children have to have a place to go. Like, it's mandatory exposure. Like,
right.
There's nowhere for these children to go.
Now, this would be similar, say, for instance, if a child had a peanut allergy or some other health problem as a result of some agents within the school, if the school historically has made efforts to accommodate these students.
Yes, and they should be accommodating our children. Our children have an intolerance to the radiation that is coming off the commercial transmitters that
now,
are put in the school. Now,
the thing is here is too is that do you think the ministry might be hesitant to allow this sort of accommodation to occur because it might set up a precedent that they'll have to now accommodate all other students, or what do you think what What's the reluctance within the ministry to allow this thing to happen?
I personally don't understand why they can't turn it off. I mean, why can't we have a choice? I don't think parents are even aware that the routers are in the schools
Yeah.
and what their kids are being exposed to. They don't even, they haven't even had the privilege or privy to the information on like the iPads and the instructions on the iPads and the disclaimers and warnings about holding these iPads, and yet the school board is just issuing them out to the children with nothing.
So within the when you purchase an iPad, there's an instruction manual,
Yes.
and in that manual there's a whole lot said about how to use this technology safely and how to hold it away from your body, and there's a lot of wording in there warning the public that if they use this incorrectly, they could get overexposure. And of course, the question would be, and it's a rhetorical question, is how are we going to have 20 or 25 kids in a classroom bouncing around, bouncing off the walls as they usually do, now going to behave responsibly with this technology, and also the elevated levels of radiation. Now, some people would say that there's always a few people that dream up problems for their kids and just want to draw attention to themselves or whatever, and that there's no real evidence that this type of radiation is harmful. So maybe we should talk a little bit about what health officials have said worldwide, or reports of things of that nature that you're aware of that shows that this is a bona fide health concern.
Oh, well, there's the By Initiative report. They reviewed over 4,000 studies, and they're saying that these children that we need to, that our exposure standards
are just simply too lax.
Yes, and that we urgently need to do, sorry.
To take steps. I think, I know what you're trying to say here. And basically, always the case that I think the parents are trying to make and you're trying to make is that, and that the Bio-Initiative report talks about, is that you don't need absolute proof of harm
Right.
before you take steps to protect your health or the health of your loved ones. And it appears that the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health and others are taking a position that parents have to provide this absolute proof of harm before they're willing to do anything.
Well, the courts and the tribunals say that we do not necessarily need a medical diagnosis. The human rights say they don't require proof of the disability.
Yeah.
And under the School Act, it says that a physical disability, which this is a special needs that requires accommodation under the School Act.
Now, Dr. Richard Stanwyck, who's the medical health officer for the,
Yes.
for the school district, apparently, what is his position on this? Has he recognized this type of radiation as a bona fide health risk?
Well, under the Freedom of Information, we actually asked for the transcripts, the emails between Jim Cambridge and Dr. Stanwyck, because we kept getting reports saying that they had given our information to Dr. Stanwyck and that Dr. Stanwyck had made a diagnosis and these children were not suffering from any kind of effects from the Wi-Fi routers. When we got the transcripts, basically the conversation between the two people was only about the problems they were going to have initiating their multi-million technology plan. There was nothing in there about the children. There was nothing in there about one child having heart palpitations, nothing about Tyler and his headaches, nothing. There was nothing. Even Dr. Stanwyck refused to come to the appeal. He didn't want to have a debate with the parents. I have never met him, and yet he was able to make a diagnosis of Tyler's problems without even meeting him.
That would be quite remarkable, that he could actually make a diagnosis without seeing the patient.
Yes.
Seemingly they do that all the time. In Ontario, just as an aside, at Simcoe County in Ontario, parents were concerned about Wi-Fi radiation, and the course school board held their ground and wouldn't pull those routers out of the schools, but they did a very responsible thing, and all the elementary schools in Simcoe County now in Ontario has a defibrillator available for all the students in that district. So just to let you know that, you know, we are dealing with a very powerful ideology and a very powerful movement worldwide to basically radiate the population with this type of technology. Now, a couple of things we should cover off. For instance, can the public make a donation to you and Tammy Jeske in order to support the legal costs for the appeal?
Yes, we do have it on site. It's on a GoFundMe. We're looking for donations. This is going to help all the children across Canada. It'll set a precedent. We're looking for donations to help cover the costs.
So you have legal fees and all other expenses whatsoever. Now, also, can the parents or the public also contact the ministry or contact you and help support the effort?
I do have a website. We have a website. It's Citizens for Safe Technology.
Right.
Or you can contact me at parentsforSafeSchools@gmail. We do have a group of parents that are in contact with each other all over BC, getting together to talk to their school districts as a group instead of individually, because it's very difficult. You're being ostracized from your school districts. So if as a group you have the support with other people.
Right. So what was your experience after your grandson was not able to go to the school district 62 school? Did you find that there was a sort of a shunning in the community that occurred?
Oh yes. Well, you got to admit that didn't look like we were having a whole lot of fun.
Right.
So people, they sympathize with us, but they really didn't want to jump in there and participate, because you're not getting a lot of good feedback from it. People are looking at you and wondering.
Yeah, and you're kind of going against the grain.
We're going against the grain. We're making it out.
Well, you're very brave,
Yeah.
very, very brave to take this battle on. I think if it's successful, it could be groundbreaking, in the sense that all across Canada, particularly, this could be referred to as a Ministry of Education that responded to the concerns of health. And I think, everyone should focus on that and realize that this is such an important case. It's very, very hard in a lot of places in Canada where the public really is very unaware for any of this sort of activity to occur at all, because, as you know, it takes years of reading and reflection and study to try to understand this issue.
Yes.
And it takes years to, it really does take a lot of work to be at the place where you can say, okay, not only are we concerned, but we do have enough evidence to bring this forward, and it's time for a change, that the students do deserve to be protected. So, I mean, I have to commend you for that, and I wish you all the luck in the world on it, hope you're successful. So just to reiterate that there will be some websites that we're going to be posting up, and we really want the public to help support this effort. This is so important. And if this case is successful, we'll have a chance that other school districts across Canada and the United States will be able to use this as an example.
What I really want to stress is that we want choice.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody should have a choice of whether they want to be exposed to this or not. It's the same with smoking. Okay, not everybody smoked. Everybody's getting exposed to this. I don't have a choice.
Yeah, and those students don't have a choice.
It's mandatory.
Yeah, and I think, given that the way they're using the technology, and the ministry now has a mandate to use this technology, that we really do have to wind the clock back a little bit. We have to now say, hang on, slow down. This technology isn't everything it's cracked up to be, and let's use it appropriately. So that's it for today, Janis. Always a great pleasure talking to you, and it's wonderful to see what you're doing. And I'd like to say good evening and have a nice day to all the people who are watching. Good day.